Welcome to Crossroad Connection. We're speaking out for those left unheard. My name is David Scheringa, the host of your program, and I'm also the president of Crossroad Bible Institute. And I have in the studio with me today a very special guest. His name is Scott Block. Welcome, Scott.
Thank you.
And Scott works for the Salvation Army.
That's correct.
And at the Salvation Army, you specialize in helping folks with in rehabilitation,
Correct.
Alcohol recovery, and things like that, right?
That's exactly what Turning Point program is set up to do.
Okay, yeah, it's called the Turning Point program.
Correct.
Of the Salvation Army. Is this a local program or is this cross-country?
There are turning points throughout other cities within the country.
Mm-hmm.
This is the only one we have locally.
And when did the Salvation Army get involved in such a intentional program for helping people in recovery?
With the history that I know of the Salvation Army, helping those, especially in recovery from alcohol, has been a staple for them since the very beginning.
That's what I thought. And so that's just been something that they've been helping the down and the out with that particular problem. And can you give us a little idea what the Turning Point program is like? What do they do?
Turning Point, we have people come in, whether they're coming in for subacute detox, they need detoxification because their bodies are so just beaten up with the drug or the alcohol.
And does the Salvation Army do that detox?
We do that detox.
Really?
Typical detox is 3 to 5 days, depending on the substance.
Oh, so you don't bring them to a hospital or something like that. You guys have the wherewithal to do that. Correct.
We have nursing staff that's on 24/7. We get people through the detox program and then into our residential program.
That's about 5 days detox, or 30 days, or what is it?
The detox is 3 to 5 days, depending on the substance of choice that's been being used. Also based on how bad the person is physically.
Right. Mm-hmm. So if they are need to be detoxed and experience withdrawals and things like that, they've been involved in the addiction for a long time, haven't they?
That's correct.
And it's become so much a part of their lives and their body that they can't hardly do without it.
That's 100% true. In the detox, even though we get them through the what they call subacute detox portion, the body is still, having some withdrawal symptoms and things as we transfer them into residential, but medically they're stable enough. The ravages that drugs and alcohol have on our bodies can last for quite a while.
The first part then in serious situation is detox. What's next in the Turning Point program?
The next portion in our program is the residential. We have short-term residential.
Being how long?
That's typically, the typical stay now is 7 to 10 days. That's being approved.
By insurance you're talking about?
Well, the insurance companies will tend to give a little bit longer stay. Most of our clients come in from community mental health that bring them in or get them set up to come in for us. With that 7 to 10 days, we work with them very vigorously to make sure that when they leave our program, they have aftercare set up, working with other agencies or outside counselors and sober living homes, or getting them into a long-term residential program.
Are you guys connected with Alcoholics Anonymous, or do you take a different approach?
We definitely use the 12 steps of AA. We do promote that. We have a lot of people that come in from AA and NA to lead meetings for us. But as with everything else, there's not just one way into addiction, so there's more than one way for recovery.
Right. Yeah, it used to be that we kind of thought, one size fits all, but there's different ways to approach it. I mean, you can have some can have just a very dramatic kind of parting from the addiction, and others need to have that support of that group and that constant reminder, that fellowship. You've probably seen different ways that it's happened.
Oh, most definitely. In my own experience, had a maternal grandfather and my father were both alcoholics, both stopped on their own, never went to rehab, never went to AA.
Oh, yeah, right. That can happen too. They just got sick of it.
Yeah, I myself couldn't do it. I needed the assistance. So.
Yeah. Okay, so this Turning Point program, detox, a week of residential care, and then easing them into some sort of aftercare program that is available in the community. Is that about summarize it?
That's correct.
And then how do they find out about you, people that are in trouble?
Most people go through their community mental health if they don't have any insurance. The community mental health are affiliated with us, whether it be Kent County, the Lakeshore communities, Southwest Michigan. We have people from all over the state that come to us. Through the community mental health, we have set up contracts with them. People go into the community mental health, get an assessment, we're contacted, get the referral, contact the individual, get them set up to come into our program, and we bring them in.
How essential is it for the cooperation of the person who needs the help?
It is paramount. If a person is not truly ready for the help, they're not going to work the program. They're
You
not
can't
gonna
make
do
them
anything.
ready.
No, until somebody is done and tired, sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Right.
They're not ready.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. You'd like this to wave a magic wand, but it's so much up to them to say, okay, I need help. You got to get me out of this.
Exactly.
And you probably see people more than once occasionally.
We do, unfortunately, see some people over and over. It's always our hope that this will be the time that something clicks, something different sets in. And I've seen it. I've seen people that have come through and thought, okay, here we go again. And this time, something different. They were done with it. They were finally too tired of dealing with it. They made the change and are still clean and sober today.
You mentioned about that they have to come to a point where they're just sick and tired of being sick and tired. But how often does a crisis trigger the desire for help? An accident, loss of a family. Sometimes that can do it too, can it not?
It definitely is a trigger. And people come in wanting the change. The most important thing on that is they have to want the change for themselves, not for anybody else, not for to avoid circumstances like this in the future. It has to be a complete desire and a true desire on their part to stop.
In what respect are family members involved? Do you do interventions yet, or is that kind of out of vogue now?
Yeah, we don't do interventions at all.
That was a big deal for a time there, right? But now.
It was the TV programs, all that really promoted that. Again, if somebody's not ready, they're not ready, regardless of what you prod them or threaten them with. If they're not ready, they're not ready.
My dad, who just recently passed away, was an alcoholic for a time, and we had a family intervention. He just walked out of the room. However, about 30 days later, he went in on his own. So I think an intervention can plant some seeds that people aren't happy with this.
Most definitely, when people realize just how far they've pushed people, how many bridges they burned,
how many people they hurt. Yeah.
Sometimes that is the catalyst for stepping back, really taking stock of where they are in life and what the addiction has cost them and what it's doing to them, and that will get them to seek help.
Who is, let's say, can anyone get into these programs, or do they have to be of a certain demographic, or be financially depleted, or what are the conditions for, let's just say someone's watching right now and they want help. Can they come to the Salvation Army and get that help?
Yes, there are no specific demographics. The only thing is they must be 18 years of age or older to come into our program. We're not a youth or teen facility. But demographics, whether they have insurance or not, the community mental health help them get in. If they have private insurance, we take that also. As long as the insurance companies are willing to let you stay and work with us in payments, we take anybody and everybody. We want everyone to get healthy.
Yeah, the insurance companies, most of them, I think, I guess I can't speak for most of them, but it seems like many of them have cut back to about 2 weeks now. It used to be 30 days. In my own studies in this area, 30 days seems to be best. It takes 30 days to get a habit. It takes 30 days to lose a habit. It's too bad that they cut that to 2 weeks. It seems like it's not enough. Or have you not found that?
I would definitely agree with you. I would much rather have people stay for 30 days. It gives us more time to like you said, make some changes in behaviors and the things that really have kept them down and led them down those roads to begin with. The 30 days gives us a much better opportunity to work with them rather than the 2 weeks.
Neuropsychology has also shown that it takes 30 days to get some new pathways. After 2 weeks, it'd be very tempting to seek out those same pleasure-seeking environments that they had. That's why it's good for them to be out of their circumstance at the Salvation Army. If they're there for 30 days, there'd be a much better chance for those new neural pathways to be developed.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I've done quite a bit of study on exercise and the rebuilding of the neuropaths in the brain and how effective that is. And so I really push that as a method of coping skills, is getting the exercise to help recreate those pathways you're speaking of.
Right. Well, after the break, I want to talk more about your personal story. You came through this by some personal experience, and that could, I'm sure, contributes tremendously to the help that you're providing. Okay. We'll be right back after this.
At Crossroad Bible Institute, we are committed to helping people in prison develop relationships with Jesus Christ. By correcting Bible study lessons and writing letters of encouragement, CBI instructors participate in this ministry in a safe and secure way. For more information or to sign up to become a CBI instructor, please visit us at cbi.fm on the web.
Welcome back to Crossroad Connection. My name is David Schuringa, and on the program I have with me today Scott Block. And Scott is a person who works with, let me get this right, peer support specialist.
Correct.
That's a complicated title there.
Yes.
A peer support specialist at the Turning Point recovery programs that are sponsored by the Salvation Army.
That's correct.
And how long have you been doing that, Scott?
Almost 2.5 years now I've been working there.
Okay. And let's talk about your story. What I have here, and we talked about before the program, that you're a recovering alcoholic. Unless I've got the wrong information here, you are also a returning citizen. You spent some time in prison. Is that correct, too?
I did a couple very short stints in jail.
And were those connected with alcohol abuse?
Unfortunately, yes.
Okay. And what happened? You were a kid and got involved in it, or?
No, I was one of those people who you would consider your quote-unquote normal drinker my whole life. One day, my mid-30s, picked up and couldn't put down. Life just continued to spiral downward due to the alcohol. Got involved in a couple of assault situations and was arrested.
Were you
those.
You were a mean drunk, not a good drunk, a nice drunk, or?
Not typically, but on a couple of occasions, obviously was not thinking properly, and some things happened. And
wow. And so you're in your 30s. The drinking all of a sudden got out of control, and then it caused some bad situation. Did you lose your job or anything like that?
I did not lose my job to the alcohol. I believe the only reason that did not occur is I was downsized prior to that happening. I was well on my way to losing my job. I did lose my marriage. My wife, my now ex-wife, and I had split up during that time.
She had enough of it.
She had enough of it. There was, just things on both sides there that just weren't healthy. But the alcohol definitely played a huge factor in that. And as I was going through that, loss of a job for the first time in my life since I had been 11 years old, and doing a paper route, I was out of work at the age of 39.
Ouch.
And so I didn't know what to do there, so the drinking got even worse. Lost a nephew who I considered my oldest son. I had helped raise him since the time he was about 6.
Lost him, meaning?
He committed suicide and had left behind 2 little boys. The house I was living in went into foreclosure. I had to be out in 2 weeks.
At this point, did you realize what the problem was yet or not?
It's just, at this point, no.
You're still spiraling down.
Still spiraling down. And the vast majority of these things actually occurred within a 6-week period. My dog died in that time frame. Then I caught the second charge for the assault, and it was at that point I had to make a decision. In my mind, I was either going to end it all or I was going to get help.
You were at that crossroads.
I was at that crossroads.
You were thinking of suicide or change. I mean, there's
Suicide or
nothing in
change.
between. You couldn't go on.
There's absolutely no way. I just could not go on. And by the grace of God and the help of especially my brother, who's older than I am, he contacted some friends that he knows in recovery. They told him how to go about helping me get in. And I walked into Turning Point on Labor Day in 2010, and I've never looked back.
You were ready to go to get the help.
I was ready.
And it was actually Turning Point.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Exact same place where I am now employed.
Do you remember any specific moment that you made that decision, like, I'm going to get help?
I think it was more just a
Culmination of
just a culmination of all of the things. Looking at my children and my granddaughter, realizing that there was no way I was going to end my life because they needed me and I needed them, and so it was just time. It was time.
Did you have what was withdrawal like and detox for you?
Detoxing for me. It really wasn't as bad as I had expected.
Wasn't a big dramatic shaking and all that kind of stuff?
There was shaking and things like that. But for myself, through a lot of prayer and reading and just trying to make sure I was hydrated and food in my system, I was lucky to minimize those shakes. But then again, the first couple of days of detox were they're a blur for me. So maybe I was worse than I thought I was.
Wow. Having worked with alcoholics and drug addicts and so forth myself as a pastor over many years, the idea of quitting or going in to get help is frightening. Why is that?
It's very frightening. Most of us that turn to alcohol or drugs are using it as a coping mechanism.
So to do without it is a scary thing. Like, what's going to happen to me?
To deal with life on life's terms when you get clean and sober means that you actually have to feel the feelings. You actually have to face your other fears without having the crutch that you've had for so long. I think that's the scariest part of it.
Mm-hmm. And what would you say to someone who's frightened about the idea of doing without?
I tell you, living on the other side of it now, life has never been better for me. All the pain, all the fears, all the work that's put in, I promise you it's worth it.
After your detox, what was the next? How did stage 2 go for you?
I did 2 weeks in residential treatment
at Turning Point.
And then from there I transitioned down to intensive outpatient. Did that for several months, and then just used the AA meetings, a sponsor, and friends and that were in recovery.
And are you still in AA?
Yes, I am.
How often do you go?
I don't make that many meetings anymore, for the simple fact that I am in a living meeting at least 8 hours a day at work.
Right.
The fact that
I was going to say that your work has to be therapy in itself.
It most definitely is. The fact that I can give back every day, while at the same time being reminded of why I'm doing what I'm doing and where I don't want to go back to.
Mm-hmm. This is a marvelous thing. To what extent does the Salvation Army use a spiritual approach, or do they try to stay neutral on that, or what role does the higher power have for the Salvation Army? Because they are technically a church.
Correct. We have chapel services and Bible studies. Obviously, it's not mandated or mandatory for people to go to those, but it is an option for them. It's kind of one of those things where I cannot push my faith on someone, but if somebody opens that door, I am certainly going to tell them where my strength lies.
So you don't shove it down their throat, but if they ask, you can share it with them.
That's correct.
Yeah, well, that seems to be the right approach. I'm going to we're going to take a little break here,
okay,
and then we're going to come back and we're going to talk more. And I thought maybe we'll spend our last time a little bit talking about how does a person know if they're in trouble and if they need help. We'll be right back after this message.
Stay connected to what's happening at Crossroad Bible Institute with Crossroad Network News. This free magazine is designed to keep you informed and inspired about what Christ Church is doing in prisons and jails. If you'd like a free subscription to Crossroad Network News, Fill out the form online by visiting us at cbi.fm.
Welcome back to Crossroad Connection. I'm David Scheringa talking with Scott Block, who works with Salvation Army and specifically the Turning Point programs. And the Turning Point program is to help alcoholics specifically in recovery, but also you work with drug addicts.
Correct.
as well?
Yes, both.
Any other kinds of addictions, like, or is it just those two?
It's just the substance addictions.
Yeah,
correct.
okay, because there's porn, there's shoplifting, there's all kinds of ways people get addicted.
Exactly.
And you've been very kind to share with us your personal story, and that personal story has led to being able to understand. It must give some credibility with the people when they come in that you've been there or not.
Most definitely. As soon as they find out that I'm not only in recovery, but that I've come through that program, there's an instant sense of trust and bonding because they realize that I've been there and that I actually can empathize rather than sympathize with their situation.
Right. I mean, you've been through the program, so you can say, I understand what this is about. I've had the withdrawals. I've had the stuff. I mean, you're kind of a pioneer for them to see that. Okay, people are watching the program, and now they're scratching their heads and wondering if they're an alcoholic or a drug addict. How do they know?
See, that's a really good question. If you think that you have an issue whatsoever, you can get assessment tests. You can go to any of the community mental health programs. They will do an assessment for you. If you believe you have an issue with alcohol, if you've ever had any blackouts, if you've hidden alcohol so somebody doesn't know, pretty likely that you're an alcoholic. If you're using any of the illegal drugs, I won't say you're addicted, but just it's not healthy for you. Don't take the chance of getting addicted if you're not already.
Yeah. Well, I've just written a book, 7 Secrets for Success, 7 Secrets for Kicking the Habit, a holistic approach for if we're in recovery. And I have like one of those tests in the back there. Was it the man's test or the men's test? I don't know. There's, and if you get 2 or 3 of these wrong, you probably have a difficulty. And also, does this make sense? It seems to me that you really can't define it. And please differ with me if you differ, but it seems to me that you really can't define alcoholism in terms of how much you're drinking. Although if you're drinking a liter of whiskey every night, there's it might be a signal. But it's not so much the amount that you're drinking, but the effect that it's having on your life. So you can have one person who doesn't drink that much, but it's costing them their marriage, and it's costing their job. You can have another functioning maybe alcoholic and somebody who can his or her body can take in a lot of alcohol, and they can still. Am I making any sense?
Yes, I agree with you 100%. If it's causing an issue in your life, it's a problem. Like you said, it's not the quantity; it's what effect does it have on your life.
If it's affecting your marriage, if it's affecting your job, if you're missing days at work, if you're getting into verbal, and physical spats with people, there's just all kinds of bad signs that can be traced to the addiction.
Absolutely.
Now let's talk about denial, and it ain't no river in Egypt. What role does that play?
Denial is huge. We don't want to admit, first of all, that we need help, especially in the male population. We fix things. We don't want to admit we need help, especially telling another man that you think you have a problem and asking for help. It's uncommon.
A pride thing.
That's very much so. That's why I love the program of AA and the way we help each other up and strengthen each other. Denial is not seeing or refusing to see the implications that the alcohol or the drugs are having on your life, as we just talked about.
So you're rationalizing these bad events and so forth, right?
Exactly. The whole why me, why is this happening to me? You need to take a step back and look at what is the root cause of the problems that are occurring.
Right. And again, it's difficult to overcome denial for another person. They have to come and say it. Hey, I've been lying to myself. I have to look at this differently. Tell us, what's it like to be free from the addiction?
It's, as I stated earlier in the program, life is better now than it's ever been for me. I was remarried last fall, back in October. My children are happy and healthy.
You were remarried?
I was remarried. A lady that I'd known for several years. Little side note, she actually was more of a parent to my children during the time that I was struggling with the alcohol than I was. And so they've known her for a long time. And I got lucky, and God really brought us together through the circumstances that we'd both gone through. And life is great.
Yeah, well, congratulations.
Thank you.
And it's how long now since your last drink?
Let's see, what's today? It has been 3 years and 9 months since I have had a drop of alcohol.
Now, the study that I've done and put in that book, they say that 30 days that's the very initial important thing. Then 2 years, they say that you're like 60% free. But then there's the 5-year mark where you're about 85 to 90%. And then at the 7-year mark, I'm told, what I've read, that you're no longer likely to become to go drink than someone who's never done it. So you're still in the early stages of this battle, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
I mean, if you get to a point where I've got it made, it's not going to be a problem, that can be very dangerous.
That thinking is, it's a death sentence. I believe that if we start thinking that we have this mastered, or it's just straight death sentence for me. I know full well to this day, even though I have no desire to pick up a drink, and the thought of it actually makes me ill. I know that if I were to go home this evening and pick up a drink, I would be dead in short order if I didn't get help immediately.
Do you think that any alcoholic who quits and can ever drink again?
I look at it.
That's a bit of a debate, isn't it?
It's a bit of a debate.
Can an alcoholic ever drink in moderation again? I think AA says no.
AA says no. Some of the other programs that are out there say it's possible. I look at it this way. I will not tell you that I will never have another drink, but I will tell you for today, I'm not going to have one.
Not interested today.
And that's all I have to worry about is getting through today.
That's good AA terminology.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, don't worry about 10 years from now. Worry about today.
Exactly.
Well, thank you so much, Scott, for being with us today. This is just fantastic. I think that you are bringing hope to so many people, because addictions are a major secret, aren't they?
Yes, they are.
And my guess is probably 70 or 80% of the population is dealing with some kind of addiction. I don't think that's an exaggeration.
I completely agree.
And the main thing is because we're all flawed human beings. We all have holes in our heart from imperfect upbringings, and because we're sinners, right? And so we find various ways to fill that hole in our heart. And so that
Absolutely.
Becomes alcohol, it becomes drugs, it becomes porn, it becomes shoplifting, to fill that hole in the heart, right?
Right.
And until we can discover that that just makes the hole bigger, it gives a temporary fix, doesn't it?
Yes.
It gives a temporary fix, but only Jesus can fill that hole.
Amen.
In the heart. And so you've been a great encouragement, and I know that this program is going to be a real blessing to so many. So thank you so much for being with us, Scott.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you for being with us today. An important subject, and we hope that you've learned a lot and maybe can find some help and hope for yourself or someone else. My name is David Churinga, and we hope to see you again right here next week.